You're watching Patricia Ortiz Conway, running for Puyallup Tribal Council. Find more information by visiting her website at honorourconnections.com. Call her directly with any questions or concerns that you may have at 253-312-8914 or email patricia@honorourconnections.com. And now grab your ballots and let's get voting.
Good afternoon. My name is Cliff Farrell here with Patricia Ortiz Conway, who's running for one of the open seats on the Puyallup Tribal Council. And with the election coming up soon, I wanted to ask her a couple of questions on the subject of housing today. Now, I grew up in Sacramento, and I've moved around the country and around the world. And coming home, I now live here near a reservation. And one of the key things that I had trouble with was finding a transitional housing. So people coming in from out of state, from elsewhere, and they want to become local. Now, this is a challenge that our tribe has. Do they have any solutions to folks who want to come home?
Currently, we don't have any transitional type housing, but you're in the same predicament that hundreds of our tribal members that are here, near the reservation or in our seated areas or around neighboring Washington they have this desire to come home, but there's nowhere for them to come home to that's managed by the Puyallup tribe. Now,
the tribe has been making some efforts towards that. However, I happen to know because I've seen it on Facebook and the announcements in our newspapers that we've purchased an additional apartment complex. We have some that are existing. We've done a tiny home village. So, why hasn't that solved the problem? We've got apartment complexes. When I come back, why can't I just move into an apartment until I find another one elsewhere?
Well, I think the problem, Cliff, is that we're not strategically planning for the growth of our members and for members to come home. So it's about connecting our departments, our housing departments, and
we have different housing departments?
Yes, so we have our low-income housing department, our set-aside housing department, and we have elders assisted living, and then we have elders and emergency housing.
Is there a reason why those various departments aren't under one housing umbrella?
I think it just all goes back to administration and the mission and goals and the vision of the Puyallup Tribal Council and the vision of the members.
Okay. Now, you were on a housing board, weren't you?
Yeah, I was on the housing board. When I was getting my AA degree, my daughter was an infant to a couple years old, and she's 8 now. So about 6 years ago, I was on the housing board. We oversee the millions of dollars of budget, the 2 housing apartment complexes, multiple homeowner units, and elders duplexes, and a rental assistance
So you
program.
were on the board overseeing that?
Yes, I was on the housing board.
Is it like a committee?
So a housing board has supervisory experience, supervises the executive director, and then manages the budget. And a committee, they're kind of helpful to a department, if you will. So they plan events and things like the youth committee, they help support the youth center. There's I'm on the Fish Wars committee also, and so we plan events around honoring the Fishing Wars veterans.
Aren't the Fishing Wars over at this point?
Well, there's a couple phases of the Fish Wars. I believe we're in a second or third phase of the Fish Wars, and I don't think we'll ever be over with the Fish Wars because our salmon are barely surviving.
Oh, well, I read about that dam that broke and stuff and kind of decimated our salmon population, so I can see that the wars continue on. Now, tell me about the tiny home village, because I've read about that, and I don't know a whole lot about that other than we've got homeless folks, people who don't have a home, are moving in there. Is that open to any indigenous person, or is that limited to our tribal members only?
So the tiny home village is for Puyallup tribal members only.
Okay. Now, can they just show up and say, hey, it's getting a little cold outside. It's raining. I need a place to stay. You got any vacancies?
So there's an application process, and you have to go through the wraparound program. So if you go to the website, you can go to wraparound. There's tribal members and tribal departments, or it's kind of like by a word of mouth thing right now through our social media.
Do they have a
website.
paper? This application, is it a paper application?
I think it's electronic. I'm not exactly sure.
Seems to me that folks who lack a stable home would be the least likely to be able to go online and fill out an application. It seems like they're in trouble, you know?
Well, I'm sure they'll assist them with that. We have a really robust wraparound program. So right now, because of COVID, we've actually amped up our technology skills around the tribe. So people are doing, I've heard people are doing, you can call in, do an application, and then they sign for you, the person that's doing the application. You give a verbal approval.
So if you can get on the phone,
Right.
So we just basically need to get the word out there to
Right.
folks that there is something.
Right. And there's a wait list, and I've heard people are applying. It'd be nice to have an update.
That would be nice. Now, what about the cost? Because the area in which we live, it seems like the cost of housing just keeps going up and up and up, you know, and what do we do if we want to own our own home? You know, somebody who's, just starting out, we've got our kids, our grandkids, tribal members who just got their first good job, or they're just starting out. You know, everybody wants to own their own home, not just rent, because then they're subject to rent increases, you know, and they're essentially being left behind. And so my question is the tribe and our tribal council, are they doing anything to assist in home ownership, and kind of move our members forward?
I believe with the set-aside program that they're helping people get access to resources and home ownership classes. They have the down payment assistance program for $10,000, the mortgage assistance program for $500, and the rental assistance for $300, and that's a fully Puyallup tribal member only, Puyallup tribal funded program. And but you're right, we have to be planning for the growth of our tribe. We know that we don't live in multi-generational families that much anymore because we are becoming self-sufficient and self-sustainable. However, we used to live in multi-generational families as tribal people.
It'd be longhouses, right?
Longhouses. And then we would set aside a space at the end of our longhouse for our relatives. Say, I want to go back to Puyallup and see my great-grandpa, and in his longhouse there'll be a spot for me set aside so I have somewhere to stay. Like, our people are never homeless, but under the NAHASDA, the Native American Housing and Self-Determination Act, homeless basically means if you don't rent or own your own home, you're not on a lease, you're considered homeless.
Well, so there would be indigenous people who would be legally classified as homeless, but if they've got a place to stay, a place to plug in, they wouldn't necessarily feel homeless.
Right.
So I think that, there's a lot that our tribe can do. What can tribal council specifically, if you get on tribal council and the folks who are already there, what could they be doing to kind of make the situation better? What more could we be doing?
I think first they need to honor the Constitution, because the Constitution says that they should be giving out land to landless members. So when the Constitution was created in the 1930s, our people already knew that our lands were getting taken away. So it spells out any unallotted member can apply for land, and there's an application process, and it says you go to the tribal council to apply. I don't know of this practice that we've been doing it.
I'd like to apply for that.
Right, and also we need to strategically plan. We're supposed to have a comprehensive land use plan as of our land claims settlement agreement in 1987, 1988, so that we can be setting aside those lands for our tribal members. And so I think our lands need to be reserved for housing, and then we need to be allocating funding for the future growth of developing housing.
Definitely agree with that. All right. Anything else in regards to housing? Any further last comments?
I just really feel that we need to be planning for transitional housing for our members that are here. So when they're coming home, also that they have a place to go so that we can move them up and elevate them into home ownership if that's what they want to do.
Yeah, when I first moved from out of state and I got here, I was basically living in a closet with myself and my 3 children while I was looking for a place, and I couldn't find anything. And I just got lucky enough to find a place, right next door to where my parents were living. So,
and we have to get creative. We can't be confining ourselves to the reservation boundaries.
I like it. All right. Well, thanks for your time, Patricia. You can email any questions that you would like her to answer, Patricia at honourconnections.com, or give her a call at
253-312-8914.
There you go. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Cliff.